Hello, how are you all? Well, students, we had discussed about the metallic properties in our previous session, and today we will start a new topic, that is sonorous quality. Students, you know metals are sonorous. This means that metals make a ringing sound when we strike them. But in case of non-metals, they don't show sonorous quality. So sonorous means capable to producing a ringing sound. For examples, if we drop a metal coin or a metal utensil on the floor of our house, we hear a ringing sound. And when the clapper or hammer of an electric bulb strikes the metal gong, even then a ringing sound is produced. That means metals produced ringing sound. But in case of non-metals, they are not sonorous. That means they don't show such sound. This means that solid non-metals don't make ringing sound when we strike them. That's why non-metals are not sonorous, but metals are sonorous. Our next heading is hardness. You know that metals are generally hard, except few metals like sodium and potassium. All other metals are hard. This means that the most of metals cannot be cut easily. Though most of the metals are hard, but their hardness varies from the one metal to another metal. That means metals are hard, but all metals, they are not same in harder. Okay, for examples, we try to cut a thin sheet of iron metal with a pair of scissors. We will find that it is very difficult to cut the sheet of iron, because iron metal is very hard. On other hand, a thin sheet of aluminum metal that can be cut easily by using the scissor. This means that aluminum metal is less hard. Now there are the examples by which you can prove it that metals are harder, but all metals are not same in hardness. Now this means that aluminum is less hard. There are, however, some exceptions to this property, like sodium and potassium metals are soft and can be cut very easily with knife. Students, here an experiment is given for the sonorous sound. It is very simple. When you will fall any coin or metallic thing on the surface, on the roof, you will find the sound at that time. But in case of non-metals, you will not find the sonorous quality. Okay, our next heading is density. See here, a figure is given here, sodium metal. This is the metal which you can cut with the knife very easily, and most of the solid non-metals are quite soft. This means that most of solid non-metals can be cut easily. For example, sulfur and phosphorus are soft non-metals which can be easily cut with the knife. Only one non-metal, diamond, it is very hard. You know that it is the hardest substance. The diamond is a non-metal which is very hard. Next topic is melting and boiling point. Melting point and boiling point here. Metals have high melting point and boiling point because they are hard, so their bond strength is very strong. That's why their melting point and boiling point are high. But sodium, potassium and gallium, cesium like metals are the exceptions of higher melting and boiling point. The sodium, potassium, cesium and gallium metals have the low melting point and rest of the metals have high melting point. The melting point of gallium and cesium metals are so low that they start melting in hand by the heat of our body only. Okay. Now next heading is density. You know that metals have high density. By saying that metals having high densities, we mean that metals are heavy substances. There are, however, some exceptions. For example, sodium and potassium metals have low density. Students, density. What is the means of density? Means of density means the number of atoms or molecules present in certain area, that is called the density. So here number of atoms and molecules will be there in 1 gram of iron. It is very much, but number of atoms in case of non-metal, that is less in comparison to that metal. Okay, then the metals have high density. Only few metals like sodium and potassium, they have low densities and they are very light metals. Students, you know that metals have high densities but non-metals have low densities. That is, non-metals are light substances. So due to its density, metal is, it contain more weight, but non-metals are light substances. Okay. Now our next heading is alloy formation. So you know, alloy formation, metals can form alloys with other metals. Alloy means when two or more metals will combine with each other in a certain proportions, they will form a new substance and that is called its alloy. So metals can form alloys with other metals. Alloy is the homogeneous mixture of metal with the other metal. Okay, it is very important that what is alloy. So alloy is the homogeneous mixture of a metal with other metals. For example, bronze. Bronze, it is used. So this bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. This bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. Now metals don't form, these non-metals, they do not form the alloys, but metals can form the alloys. However, carbon forms some alloys. A non-metal, that is carbon, which forms some alloys with metals. For example, steel is an alloy of iron with carbon. So carbon is a non-metal which form the alloy, and rest of non-metals, they have not this property to formation of alloys. Now our next heading is solubility. Students, next heading is solubility. So you know that metals are very harder and their density is too much. So metals are insoluble in water and organic solvents, but non-metals, they can be soluble or cannot be soluble, that means insoluble in water or other solvents. For examples, chlorine and bromine dissolve in water, whereas iodine and phosphorus dissolved in carbon disulfide. Okay, this is all for today, and in our next session we will discuss a new heading, that is comparison between the properties of metals and non-metals. Till then,